बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। आज Sunday 26th 2020 I thought I will talk to you about some interesting topic. We are often wondering that what kind of ethical rules or regulations we should follow. There's a lifelong struggle on topics such as morality, ethical values, religion, spirituality, philosophy itself. And today I thought we will talk about those principles which help us define our course of life. Now, going through different kind of philosophical works, one of the work which I found very interesting and very relevant to today's our situation, in whether it's our political situation, whether it's our personal situation, and that is the philosophy of Nietzsche. Yes, I'm talking about Nietzsche, the German philosopher from whom our very own Allama Iqbal drew a lot of important concepts such as Khudi the concept of Khudi, the concept of Superman. In German, it's called Übermensch. So what kind of Superman are we referring to? What kind of... so we do have some idea about the Iqbal's Shaheen. Iqbal has narrated a lot of traits of this Shaheen which he envisioned. But I would like you to take you back to the original source from where the story all started from. So without knowing a bit of background as a psychiatrist, unless we go through the background, we won't exactly find out what was the meaning of this person, Nietzsche. So let's go back and see what Nietzsche was, what he was doing, and how he came across all kind of ideas. So Nietzsche had a very humble background. He belonged to a religious family. His father was a minister, and basically they were Nawabs from Poland. So they had migrated to Germany, and so he had this air of quality, ethics, truthfulness, the higher values of those society. So although he was from a religious background, but itself his personality was a very exquisite one. But what happened was that during the early childhood, he lost his father at about age 4 or 5 years of age, and then he lost his younger brother. And finally, he was left alone with a lot of women in the house. There was sister, the mother, the grandmother, her sister. Now, this person who was very bright, and what he did was he started learning the spiritual, their religious text, and he was sent to the university. His interest was initially in music, in Greek literature, and at some point he also touched philosophy. So traditionally, 3 different phases are shown in Nietzsche's life, and this kind of transformation is seen in many other notable figures. For example, Al-Ghazali's, there was a transformation period 1 and 2, then there was Ibn al-Arabi, transformation period 1 and 2. And all the major figures in life, even in psychoanalysis, Jung has this transformational period from one to another one. Now, what exactly it means to be transformed? So in transformation, what happens is that the major doctrine of your life, the major ethical standards which you keep on holding, are transformed due to some critical event going on. So now we will try to find those critical events in Nietzsche's life, which can give us a clue about how the transformations occurred and what were actually the transformations. Now, Nietzsche, as a young, impressionable guy, went to the university, and one of his professors, Professor Ritschl. So Ritschl was very impressed from the essay he wrote about Greek literature. And at a very young age of 22 or 24, he got a job at the university before his thesis, and he's doing his work. Now he was very aficionado of Wagner's musical work. Wagner was a big icon at that time, just like Mozart or Beethoven. He was a very kind of a genius level of musician. Now, another important figure comes in Nietzsche's life. He was just kind of going somewhere and he came across this book, a small pamphlet by Schopenhauer. So Schopenhauer is another very famous philosopher who had an overreaching pessimistic view of life. So Schopenhauer creates a very pessimistic view of life, that life is tragedy and you are inevitably, you're a prisoner and you're going to die and things don't really matter. So when he read about this kind of philosophy, Schopenhauer's, now Nietzsche's was very affected. For at least 2 weeks, he was like down with like pain and lethargy, and a lot of things were happening in his mind. That what is like really we need to do something. If life really biologically determined in a way, or philosophically determined that we don't have any power to do something. So after 2-3 weeks, and after quite some time, so he kept on meeting Schopenhauer and kept on meeting Wagner. And Wagner and Schopenhauer were friends and had a very close relationship. So Wagner was very admirant of Schopenhauer's philosophy, and Schopenhauer's was of Wagner's. So Nietzsche kind of had this both influences coming on. Some major life events happened. There was an event when he started transforming. He formed that. Now, what I like about Nietzsche is that he's not very traditional philosopher who is into very metaphysical debates, or who is very much into those things which we traditionally think that philosophers are very useless. So as we go along, we'll see Nietzsche came out with a solution which was very pragmatic and practical. And if I say that his philosophy to this date has been the most influential all over the Western world, and implicitly even in the Muslim culture. So at the end, you can see whether this hypothesis holds true or not. So Nietzsche was now an active force started coming into his mind that the pessimistic view is not very helpful. So now he tried to fight with an alternative view, and that was that we have a power where we can break this pessimism. Now, right here, I would like to give you an indication that Nietzsche is the person from which some of the major things happened. Some of the major major philosophies started from Nietzsche's. So how come Nietzsche becomes a father of existentialism? How I see Nietzsche is the inspiring force for Freud. How I see Nietzsche almost touches the levels of the Sufism. The core concept of Sufism are also tackled. And at the same time, he happens to create a worldwide controversy around him. Just like any other important figure, if you look at any other important philosopher, the more controversy they kind of created, the same kind of importance they had implicitly. So Nietzsche now came up with the concept of Übermensch, or the Superman, but this Superman was of a psychological kind. It was not a Superman of the physical strength. So Nietzsche came with the primordial concepts of unconscious also. So, for example, he very famously created a debate that where does all the thoughts come from? Who decides? Who takes a decision? And he came up with this term called will. And he said this will comes before our beliefs and desires. And it's very difficult to differentiate between the will and the person sense of self, or the I-ness. Now, if we agree on this concept that the will of a person is predetermined, or a person has this free will, then we can appreciate the concept he came up with. So Nietzsche believed that we can transform ourselves from different phases, from one stage to the another and to the another. So he gave a lot of examples. He kind of gave different analogies through which we can better understand the concept of Nietzsche's. So let's go to that concept.